Welcome to MCN and welcome to the launch of the new Suzuki V-Strom 800 RE.
Give you a rundown of some technical details as we head off out into the French countryside. Now, a lot of the bike is shared with the 800 DE, so it's going to be very familiar to you if you either own or have ridden or just looked into one of those bikes. Frame and engine the same. The suspension is different on this. It is shorter for a start by 70mm. It's less adjustable, so the forks in front of me, they are preload adjustable only, where they're fully adjustable on the DE. The shock has only got preload adjustment, although that is remotely adjustable, so if you put in luggage or a pillion or anything on, you can change it very quickly, and rebound damping as well. Wheels, they've been changed from spoked wheels with a 21-inch front on the DE, which is obviously sort of very good for off-road riding, to 19-inch front and cast rims and tubeless tyres as well. Now, tyres on this bike, they've got no trail aspirations at all. They are fully kind of treaded road tyres. There's no big gaps or knobbles or anything like that. So in reality, you're not going to be taking this bike off-road. You'd have to change tyres to do so, and in all honesty, it probably wouldn't be up to much more than sort of light gravelly tracks, fire roads and things like that. Any kind of mud, sand, general wetness is not going to be clever at all. It's not all downgrades, quote unquote. It's different. It's kind of more suited to purpose, I guess, is the way Suzuki would want to put it. But the brakes are better on this model. The DE has twin piston sliding calipers because they're sort of appropriate for off-road situations. They're not too fierce. They're not going to get you into trouble. Whereas this model has radial 4-piston Nissan calipers, so proper kind of road-going stopping. They're the same calipers on the GSX-8S. They're very good. Dash in front of me as well. If you cycle through this, you won't find the off-road modes for traction control and ABS, the gravel modes, if you like, that the DE has, because, well, it doesn't need it. It's not an off-road model. The seat is slightly different as well as being lower because the whole bike is lower. They've changed the shape of the foam and the density to a certain degree as well, just to make it better for touring and less that consideration for off-roading and kind of the riding position you need for that. That was one of my first impressions when I got on the bike, that it's much more comfortable. For me particularly, I have long legs, I'm 6 foot tall, and I really don't get on with the DE seat. I find it pushes into the back of my coccyx quite a bit and I end up sitting in a natural position. The other changes are the handlebars are slightly further away, slightly narrower, slightly lower for a more road bias position. I've been very positive about the bike so far. You might be wondering whether there are any negatives, and in all honesty, not really. It's quite a well-rounded bike. It's sort of very well suited to the use it's likely to be put to. My reservations, I guess, would be around the limitations of the specification and the price that Suzuki have pitched it at as well. There's no cruise control, which in the days of ride-by-wire, when it's fairly easy to add a button and a line of code to manage the throttle for you, seems a bit remiss really. The screen as well, the fact that you can only adjust it by unbolting it and fitting it in a position seems a bit poor in this day and age. I don't think it'd be that hard to give it some sort of mechanically adjustable mechanism. Although saying that, the screen has been in the highest position all day, and for my, as I said before, 6 foot height, it's no real issue with buffeting. It's not any noisier than I'd expect doing anything else, so it's actually pretty well designed. And then suspension, not necessarily for what we've been doing today, so basically having fun and meandering around the country, but I think its limitations will come when you try to put a lot of weight on it with panniers, top boxes and pillions. I think it's going to be a little bit soft at the rear. I don't think it's got the spring rate to cope, in all honesty, so you're going to be sitting down at the rear when you cover it in gear and partners and whatever else you want to tack onto it. But that really is it. The engine, as we've said before about the GSX-8S and the V-Strom DE, it's a real peach, and you might look at a spec sheet and think it's only 84 horsepower, but it feels more than that because all the punch is between roughly 4 and 8, and that's where you are a lot of the time on the road, so it's always at hand, and it feels like a much bigger, stronger engine. It's just that where a bigger engine would keep on going, it kind of peaks out at 8,000 RPM, which is sometimes annoying, but that's good enough to punch up to sort of 80, 85. Going back to negatives, there is still a little bit of vibration through the foot pegs. Now, it's more pronounced on the DE, and I don't know whether that's the sort of foot peg material or the fact that that's got the extra frame brace for the sump guard. It's just something that's kind of slightly different in the resonance, and of course this bike has slightly different rubber toppers as well, so between those factors this is improved, but still realistically wherever you're going 80 miles an hour is going to be your maximum cruising speed. But I've really enjoyed this bike, and if you told me I had to go to work on this every day for the next year, I'd be very happy to do so. You could ride it all over the country, probably even abroad actually, with the visor. You don't load it up too much, that'll probably spoil your fun a bit, but for 9 and a bit grand it's really versatile little tool, and I've been very impressed with it.
So, end of the day, back at base in Montpellier, ready for a good rest, I think, because it's been a long day. Now, the engine RE has been really impressive. I wasn't expecting too much from a bike that is kind of effectively a downgraded, lower spec, lower priced version of an existing model, but there's more to it than that. Okay, you're not paying for those parts, so yes, it is cheaper, but you don't lose anything in terms of its road dynamics, and because it's much more suited to back road, B road fun as we'd have in the UK, and even at high speeds actually as well. It's nice and stable, and you've got plenty of feel, and goes where you want it. The DE, because it's got that big 21-inch front wheel, when you steer it, it's kind of a real sort of swing from side to side to try and get it to go where you want, which isn't uncommon for bikes like that. Whereas this is a bit more like a street bike, as it is really. It just goes where you point it. You don't have to think about it. You can just use that big high riding position to see where you're going and sort of read the road ahead of you. There's not really much to criticise. You could wish for sort of a more sophisticated ABS system and traction control system. Maybe you'd want cruise control, and to be honest, I think that will probably come at some point in the future anyway. That's just the way these things are going, that technology is filtering down from the top level. But at this price point, there's very little that offers those kind of gadgets anyway, so it's fairly typical. So if you're after a bike that's fun, as this bike is, it's useful, comfortable, easy to ride, then there's a lot to be said for this, and you should probably go and take a test ride on one.